Welcome to the Human Half series, where today I'm going to be talking about fear, specifically your fear. Now, I work with a lot of clients, and the majority of my clients are women, and a common theme among those clients is fear, is that they're afraid of a lot of different things. Maybe they're afraid of what'll happen when they take their dog out for a walk, and what if a dog comes up and attacks theirs? Or maybe they have a reactive dog and they're afraid that their dog's going to cause trouble, maybe hurt another dog, or, worst case scenario, somebody calls the animal control and the dog gets deemed dangerous or possibly even euthanized. We have lots of different reasons why we are afraid. I, for one, as a dog professional, have had a fear that people are going to judge me if my dogs aren't perfectly well behaved, which is ludicrous, of course, because they're dogs and I can't control every move that they make. But I still have had the fear that I'm going to be judged because my dogs don't respond like robots every single time I tell them to do something. They're good dogs, but they're not perfect because they're normal, living, breathing animals. So I wanted to share with you, first of all, that you're not alone. If you're one of those women who feels a lot of fear, or even men, this applies to everybody, who feels a lot of fear when even at the thought of taking your dog outside for an outing somewhere, this webinar is for you. So I'm going to teach you 5 different strategies that you can use, and it's going to depend on you as to which one you resonate with the most. That you can use, but these strategies you can use to either move through or let go of the fearful thoughts you're having, and to move through the actual fearful emotions you're experiencing. So let's get right to it. The very first thing, so get a notepad and pen because you're going to want to write these down. There's 5 different strategies and you're going to want to make notes. So the very first strategy is focus on the good stuff. So focus on what you want to see happening, because guaranteed 99.9% of the time when you're with your dog, he or she is incredible. She's a perfect dog. And yet that 0.1% of the time that they act out, or there's something happens, or even the potential of something happening, we focus on that instead of what went well. And that 0.1% is what erodes our thoughts and takes us into this spiral of fear, rather than focusing on the 99.9% of good things that we can actually sit and feel really good about. All the good things that we taught our dogs, the way we were able to support them in teaching them to be really good in all these other ways, the one time they act out is the one that we tend to focus on. So your first strategy is focus on what you want to see. So if you want to see good stuff, start looking for the good stuff. And not only that, start rewarding your dog for it. So give them feedback for it, and that's going to give you, your brain, feedback for noticing it. And you're going to start to establish a new habit of, oh my God, look how good my dog just did there. He just passed that other dog and he didn't lose his cool. He didn't lose his marbles about it. Or wow, like he came up, he was in a group of people, which really stresses him out. I asked him to sit, he sat. I gave him some positive feedback. He checked in with me. He stayed cool about it, and I took him out of the situation. Awesome. So that's your very first strategy. If you're the type of person who tends to focus on what your dog did wrong, then this is a strategy for you to implement every single time you go for a walk. So make it a habit. When you come home from your walk, make notes. Maybe start a little, my dog did good today, journal, like you would maybe a gratitude journal, but this is for your dog instead. So this is what my dog did well today. And list at least 3 things that your dog did well, that you're proud of. All right, strategy 2. As soon as you catch yourself thinking those thoughts of, oh my God, what if, and holy cow, the neighbor's dog might show up, or this might happen, or this happened 10 days ago or 5 years ago with this dog or another dog, and oh my God, it can happen again. Bring yourself back to the present moment. So if your thoughts are in the future or in the past, that means you're not in the present with your dog. And that's really what spending time with your dog is all about, being here and now in this moment so you can actually enjoy them. Now, how do you do that? How do you bring yourself back to the present moment? Well, simply, first of all, by noticing what's going on around you. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Notice your breath. Are you breathing quickly? Are you breathing slowly? Are you really holding your breath? Are you really tense in your chest? Notice how the air feels on your skin. What's its temperature? Notice what your dog's doing right now. Is his tail wagging? Is he sniffing the ground? Is he giving you cute little puppy eyes? Is he trying to engage, but you didn't notice because you were too busy being in the past or the future before? So really get yourself grounded and centered in this moment. And that's in and of itself is a meditation. Just even if it means focusing on each footstep every time you take a step. There's the ground. There's the ground. There's the ground. There's the ground. That's going to help you come back to this moment. So that's strategy number 2. Strategy number 3, question your thoughts. So here's an example. Think of the worst case, or think of your fear. What is it that you're afraid is going to happen? Let's say, for example, you're afraid your dog might bite somebody. Okay? Now the next question you're going to ask yourself is, and then what would happen? Well, maybe that person gets angry at me. Okay. And then what would happen? Well, maybe they call the animal control. Okay. And then what would happen? And you keep going like that until you get to you'll either feel a shift, you'll either go, oh, yeah, I guess worst case scenario is he gets a dangerous dog license. I've got to keep him on a muzzle and on a leash when I take him out. Not the end of the world. He's still alive. And that's manageable. No big deal. Now, it could be that as you go through this line of questioning, you don't feel that shift or release in your body or your thoughts around the fearful situation. What that might mean is you've hit the end of, this is the worst case scenario. I am afraid my dog is going to bite somebody and he's going to get euthanized as a result of it. But knowing that does not bring me any relief. And that's because that awareness has brought you to actually needing to tune into how you feel about the fact that he might be put down. That's what you need to explore further. Then what would happen for me if my dog was put to sleep? Oh my God, I would be devastated. I would just feel lost. I would feel gutted. I would feel hopeless. I would feel whatever. You're going to fill in those blanks for yourself. So the purpose of questioning your thoughts is first of all, to really examine and bring to light, what is it that you're actually afraid of? Because sometimes we're afraid of the unknown. But when we make the unknown known, it isn't that scary anymore. It isn't as terrifying anymore. And sometimes when we examine our thoughts, like in the example I was just talking about with being afraid that your dog might bite somebody and they'll get euthanized, those thoughts are actually bringing us to a feeling we need to acknowledge and address. In both cases, you want to keep exploring and examining either of those until you go, okay, I've just experienced in my own mind and body the worst thing that can happen. And move through it. You have to move all the way through it. And I'll explain how to move through your feelings in number 4 in a moment. So the questioning your thoughts is, what's the worst that can happen? Giving yourself a chance to answer. And then saying, and then what would happen? Give yourself a chance to answer. And then what would happen? Until you get to the end and feel a shift and go, okay, that's no big deal. Or you still feel tension in your body because you need to address the feeling. Okay, so number 4 is you've got to feel it to heal it. Now, when we have feelings in our body, so when we have an emotion that comes up for us, some of our natural tendencies, some of us have a natural tendency to want to just push it down and go, let's just push that aside, push forward, and keep going because I got to get my dog out for a walk, we got to go. But meanwhile, those feelings are brewing beneath the surface. And because we're not acknowledging them, they're actually getting bigger and worse because we're compounding it. Every time we feel fear and stuff it and don't deal with it, and then feel fear and stuff it and don't deal with it, it's like a pressure cooker in there. And we're just stuffing and stuffing and stuffing and stuffing. And at some point, it's all going to come out. Or even worse, we're going to internalize it. And that's why some people have stress-based or stress-induced illnesses like migraines. I get stress-induced migraines sometimes because I'm not acknowledging something that I'm feeling and my body's trying to make me aware of it. So how do we feel the feelings? How do we work through those feelings? So the first thing I want you to do is notice where in your body you're feeling it. So when you're feeling the fear, when you actually have physical feelings of fear in your body, where are you feeling it? For me, it's very commonly in my heart, my chest area, or in my stomach and diaphragm area. So I want you to just tune in to where do you feel it in your body. And you can even put your hand there. And you're going to breathe into that space. Maybe if your heart's not racing, maybe you can take some slow, calm, deep breaths. If your heart is racing, you might need to breathe a little faster to pace your heart rate. So if you think about if you've just run a marathon and your heart's obviously pumping really fast, you're not going to be taking slow, deep breaths at the end of that marathon. You're going to be breathing as fast as you need to breathe in between so that you can breathe and let your heart beat. Breathe and let your heart beat. You got to let your body catch up to itself. So you're going to breathe in alignment with your heart rate. Doesn't matter, you just go with the process. You allow yourself to explore your thoughts with your feelings and just breathe your way through what you're feeling. So this can be a bit of an intense ride for some people, especially if you've never really sat with your fear before and allowed for it and given it space to exist and permission to be there. And yet trust that you will get through to the other side. Those feelings will not last forever. You just need to give them space to exist, permission to be there. Breathe your way through it. Or imagine the scenario, the horrible scenario happening and all those feelings that would come up as a result of the worst thing happening. Until you feel, again, a shift or release of tension in your body. It might feel like an opening up or like space, or you might just feel a calmness or peace. But keep going until you get there. So this one I would really encourage you to take the time. You want to take some time, maybe even, go sit in a quiet room by yourself to do this so that you're not feeling rushed or pressured or interrupted, so that you can really go start to finish through it. I'll give you an example of where feeling the feelings, I've used feeling the feelings before. One day a few months ago I was walking my dogs up the road nearby my house, and there's no shoulder in that road, or there's a very small shoulder, but no sidewalk, and cars typically come pretty quickly. It's a country road. And somebody had just pulled up across the street in their vehicle and let their little Yorkshire Terrier out. The next thing I know, this little terrier is running across the front lawn, barking at us, as an SUV is coming towards us, like barreling towards us. The speed limit's 50, they're going faster. And I did what I could to try and slow the SUV down, signal to the SUV, but they didn't see the little dog. So she had no idea. She thought I just meant go around her. So she took a wider berth around me, but that actually pushed her closer to the little Yorkshire Terrier as he was coming towards us. At the very last second, this dog stopped right before the car hit it, or right before it was on the road. And of course, my heart is going bananas, because all I can imagine in this few seconds that this all took place is that I'm about to watch a dog die today. And I was not really looking forward to that. So once the owner finally collected the dog and everything was over and I'm back with my dogs across the street and I need to carry on walking, I know I can't keep walking because the adrenaline is surging through my body. My heart is racing like crazy. I've got serious tension and pain in my chest now because of what just happened. And I know that if I don't allow it to pass through me now, it's going to store up in my body, and it's also going to impact the quality of the rest of my walk. And we had just started walking, so I wanted to have a nice walk. So before I carried on doing anything, I did the hand on chest, and of course I'm breathing super fast because my heart was racing. There was no way I was going to be taking slow deep breaths in that moment. And I just kept going and letting it move through me until it passed. I also get the shakes really bad, so I get these like adrenaline shakes in my hands when I've got either adrenaline or even emotions moving through my body. So that was happening, and I'm breathing. And all told, it maybe took a few minutes of giving myself the pain. I actually brought my attention to the fear in my body and where I was feeling it, and just gave it focus for a minute, and just gave it permission to be there, put a spotlight on it, breathed my way through it until it was over. And we carried on walking, and the rest of my walk I was fine. So that's an example of how you can use feeling the feelings especially in an emergency situation where, let's say your dog just gets into an altercation with somebody else's dog, and that always, for me, even as a dog trainer, that still gets my adrenaline surging like instantly when there's a dog fight. It doesn't bother me to break them up. I can deal with that, but then there's this huge adrenaline hit that happens, and I always know now that I need to give myself the time and space to just breathe my way through it, to calm and center myself before I can carry on doing anything else, or I'm useless to everybody else. So bring yourself back to the moment, feeling the feelings, so you can let it pass. The final strategy that I'm going to give to you today is checking in on your posture. So I'm sitting in a chair at the moment, so I'm a little bit hunched forward, but your posture, how you carry your body, impacts how you actually feel. So if you're afraid, you're gonna be tensing up. You might hunch your shoulders up, or they might slump forward a little bit, or you might drop your chin or shoulders. You might clench the leash really tight. Your pace might change. So for some people, when they're afraid, they actually start walking quicker. For other people, they actually walk slower, because we fight, flight, freeze, or frenzy when we're stressed. And so some people walk slower because they're ready to freeze. Some people walk faster because they get in a frenzied state, or they're in a flight state too. Sometimes they just want to get out of the situation. So to change how you're feeling in that moment, think about putting your shoulders up and back, put your chest out. So ladies, I always say boobs out. And so shoulders back, chest out, chin up. Maybe put a little smile on your face if you feel like you can do it authentically, if you can do it genuinely. And just think of what you tap into, what you normally walk like when you're with your best friend and you're just having the time of your life. What does your posture look like? Like, think about what that would look like. Imagine your best friend standing beside you or walking with you down the road, and just tap into, oh yeah, what does that feel like in my body? Oh yeah, it feels like this, and this is how I would carry myself if my best friend was walking beside me. And tune into that. So you're going to come from that place when you're walking. And it's going to make, for some of you, it's going to make a really big difference. Now, for some of you, you're already masters at walking as though you're tall and confident and proud, and yet you still feel fearful on the inside. And if that's the case, you're gonna check in with one of the other strategies I talked about. But for the rest of you, this is something real quick you can do. You can do it right now while you're sitting listening to this or watching this video. Just tune into what your posture's doing. Try changing your posture and notice how immediately your mind changes, how you feel different instantly just by putting your shoulders back, putting your chest out a bit, just elevating yourself a bit. Totally different feeling. Now, I'm going to remind you that even when you go through any of these exercises, that doesn't mean you're never going to feel fear again. Fear will always come up because we're hardwired to be reactive to things that stress us out or that potentially put us in a dangerous or risky situation. And so doing these exercises isn't going to stop you from feeling fearful in the future. It is, however, going to take the stress out of your walks day to day if you're too focused on what could happen. And for some of you, when you get to the shift on the other side of, especially the questioning your thoughts exercise, you actually may notice that when you go for a walk, you just don't even have the same thoughts anymore. Your headspace is totally, totally different. That's what happens when you record at home. And so keeping in mind that you aren't necessarily going to avoid feeling fearful in the future, these strategies are going to help you move through it when it comes up for you and are going to help minimize the potential that you're going to create fear for yourself moving forward as well. So enjoy these exercises, enjoy your dogs, and thank you for joining me.